Immigration and the number of people coming to this country is a top issue for many voters. It rouses most passion. But whether anything can be done about it is hotly contested. By now you know the drill. I'm going to give you the two claims. The Leave camps say that leaving the EU is the only way that you can control immigration, while the Remain camps say that leaving the EU will not stop immigration to the UK. So who's right? To guide you, we're turning to some of Britain's top experts on the EU who have come together for the referendum in the group The UK in a Changing Europe. But first off, what's the problem? Along this high street, there are shopkeepers from 23 different countries. Now, it's an extreme version of an increasingly familiar sight around the United Kingdom. Over the years, many people have come from outside of Europe and they've set up their businesses on streets like this. But more recently, they've been joined by European migrants. But would leaving the EU change any of this?
Leave are right that leaving the EU would mean we would get control back of our borders to a certain extent, because at the moment EU migrant workers have an almost unlimited right to come to the UK. But if we want to retain access to the single market in the way that Norway does or Switzerland does, it will come at the price of having to have free movement of persons.
The Leave camp insists that we won't have to follow Norway and Switzerland's lead, that ours is a bigger economy, we have more clout, and so if we want to pull out of freedom of movement, we will. But let's just back up a second. Let's assume they're right. What might then happen to immigration? Our academics point this out. We already control immigration from outside the EU, but for the last year that immigration was higher at 273,000 compared to immigration from inside the EU, which was at 257,000. And these numbers keep on rising despite politicians trying to get a grip on immigration. In the future, academics predict immigration will still need to fill UK jobs, harvesting vegetables, staffing care homes. Without freedom of movement, there may be fewer Europeans, but there will still be some, and maybe more non-Europeans too.
For farmers who are doing big work in the fields up in East Anglia, they say they can't function without Eastern European labour. And so their businesses will really suffer. Now, there are different consequences. Longer term, it may be that these jobs are made more attractive and paid better to attract domestic workers into those sorts of jobs. But the reality is, in the meantime, the daffodils still need to be picked, and somebody's got to do it.
The bottom line is this. Leave is basically right. Breaking away from the EU is the only way to control immigration, but it's just the start. They either need a special deal or, to block Europe's migrants, will have to give up its market too. That's a lot of small print, making the Remain camp more accurate. Leaving the EU wouldn't automatically stop immigration. Allegra Stratton, News at 10.